covered in terms of the way that evidence is taken to lessen the stress on a young child having to give evidence before the court. Thank you.
Mr Chairman.
The Honourable Simon Power.
Well, Mr Chairman, I'm happy to take a call on the law and order debate in the justice system. If no one else from the opposition's got a view on this, I'm certainly happy to take a call and just outline how the estimates process went before that committee. I actually remember, I know this isn't strictly within the standing orders, but I actually remember this being a very volatile debate in the last government during the estimates debate. Obviously, opposition's reasonably happy with where we're heading, so perhaps I could just highlight some of the matters that have gone okay up until now. Actually, one of the most interesting things that we'll be heading into at the general election this year, Mr Speaker, is the MMP referendum. And recently I was asked to appear at a public meeting in Auckland and to explain the referendum and the various systems that were available for the public of New Zealand to choose from at the time of this year's general election. I decided that the only thing I could do was to use the information that the Electoral Commission were using to explain the different systems, to avoid any perception that I might somehow be influencing or leading the debate in a particular direction at that meeting. Because as I said the other day, I'm probably the only Member of Parliament that really shouldn't have a view about which electoral system we should have in New Zealand, because I've got to make sure the process is as untainted as possible. Well, can I tell you that actually the information that was provided by the Electoral Commission and the way that its television ads explained the four systems and MMP was actually really good. It was a really good piece of work. And well, no, it was the Electoral Commission I just said, did it? Not me. That was the whole point of the speech. Yeah, I was talking about the fact that I was using the information from the Electoral Commission, because otherwise I'd be seen to be tainting the process. So the Electoral Commission... well, I just a bit offended, actually, that the member turned his back on me, contrary to standing orders. But anyway, as I was saying, the point of this particular yarn was that the public at the end actually said to me, the systems as explained by the Electoral Commission actually weren't as complex as many members of the public thought. And we ended up in a reasonably lengthy discussion about which system did what to the Parliament. And the only advice I really gave the public meeting was this: think about what shape you or a voter would like to see the Parliament and work backwards from there. In other words, don't pick a system and then try and determine what the Parliament would look like. A voter perhaps should decide what they would like the Parliament to look like and then pick a system that would deliver that type of Parliament. So it was quite an interesting process to work through. One of the figures that we used at the estimates hearings around the police safety orders was in the late 3000s. Happy to update the member on that number now that we're in the House. And as I understand it from numbers that were put in front of me prior to appearing on The Nation on the weekend, that number is now at 4,660 police safety orders, which is actually a remarkable thing for two reasons. One, not so good. Second reason, quite good. First reason that it's not so good is it tells us that we still have much work to do in the area of domestic violence. So, in other words, the fact that these orders are being so well used is problematic. But the second point is they are available. It is a mechanism for the police to de-stress an environment without having to bring charges, to allow women and children in particular to carry on in the home that they are in a reasonably safe environment, having had the alleged perpetrator removed without arrests having been made, avoiding the hassles of the court process, allowing a cooling off period for the alleged perpetrator. Actually, I think it's a process that's worked extremely well. One of the things that interests me, Mr Chairman, continues to be this issue of how the court system interacts with the people in it, in particular children. And we talked at the Select Committee about an inquisitorial model in this part of our justice system. Actually, it's an accusatorial model, they call it in Austria. And so on that basis, I think that the Parliament could expect some announcements in this area relatively shortly, meaning that more decision-making and legislation is likely to make its way to this House prior to a date which is creeping up pretty quickly.
Members, the question is that vote justice stand part of the schedule. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that vote health stand part of the schedule. Call Grant Roberts.